What is up, everybody? I just want to take a few seconds before this video plays and apologize. We did state that it was episode 5. It's not. It is, but it's not. So we recorded episode 4 like 10 minutes before this, but that's completely botched. So we are replacing it with this. But yeah, we hope you enjoy. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and let us know what you think in the comments. Enjoy.
Welcome to episode 5 of Down the Badger Hole with Drew and Chandler. I'm Drew.
And I'm Chandler.
I like to wear, I'm wearing white and you're wearing black. It's like the dichotomy of our personalities. Yeah.
No, that's very fair.
Yeah. So, while we were moving the studio around, I made the point that you always have to plug in a USB 3 times. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I don't know. It's really fucking annoying.
Minimum 3 times.
Yeah. Is that too loud for you?
What?
The headset?
No, I was listening to it to make sure I could hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the reason that you have to flip a what?
My hat's all the way over there.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's good.
The reason that you have to flip a male USB around minimum 3 times is because it exists in a quantum state.
Well, so when you first try it, it's always the right way.
Right, but it doesn't go in the slot the way that you need it to.
Correct. And then you
So
flip
you
it
turn
around and then
you're like, this clearly is fucking wrong.
You push it a little harder, and then you're like, okay, it's definitely not going in that way. So you precisely adjust it the third time, and then you apply the right amount of pressure.
I didn't precisely adjust shit. I couldn't see any of the stuff I was plugging it into. I think it's a quantum state. They exist both in the correct and incorrect position at all times until the third time, just to fuck with you.
This isn't an ad. I mean, it could be because, well, sponsor, but this is like, no, not an ad break. This is just genuinely the coolest thing ever.
It is admittedly pretty dope.
So it's a drill with a light.
It's a little
and it's
electric
USB-C
chargeable, and then like it's got every security bit you could ever need.
And it has a scalpel and tweezers, and then you drop that in there. You drop that in there.
When you
push
first
it down, and boom.
When
and
you
then
first got it, I played with it for like 5 minutes straight because it's really cool, and I want one for Christmas.
It was really cool. Yeah, China though, so I doubt these are going to be a thing.
They might not be. Who knows? Well, okay. So that tech question though leads me to my next little opener. Did you know that Meta, formerly Facebook, is building a? Wait, you know what?
I don't. I think I do. I think I've heard something about what you're about to say.
They're building like a whole fucking thing in Cheyenne.
I didn't actually. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
My first reaction was not that that's kind of cool.
Yeah, kind of stupid because more people have to come here.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of people coming up from the south, Colorado specifically, which is fine.
Don't lie. He's fucking lying.
I don't like more traffic. I live in Wyoming because I don't like people.
I love him, but he's a bitch. I don't like it because I like my people who live in Wyoming.
Yeah.
And it's a very red state, and then
let's not get political. That does make us sound a bit xenophobic. And I mean, maybe that's the case.
Okay, you're allowed. People are allowed to talk politics.
Yeah, we don't need to on this podcast though. So yeah, no. Do you know where it's gonna be? You don't know where it's gonna be because you didn't know where it was gonna be at.
No.
So the place that you went dirt biking last with that group of people. I'm trying specifically not to name anyone.
Dirt biking.
Dirt biking.
When I broke my ankle.
Yeah. Who are you with?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where their house is? Northwest of that.
Like on the other side of the highway?
No, on that same side of.
Oh, just across from their house?
It's like 4 blocks from their house.
So in between where my old house was and their house?
Your old house. No.
The trailer?
Oh. Yeah, kinda. No, between where your old house was and I-25.
Okay, I don't know roads.
I-20, the Highway 25.
Okay.
25, the one that you take to go everywhere.
Okay. Thank you.
It's multi-billions of dollars. They've already broken ground apparently, and most of the people that live in that specific neighborhood are not
Happy.
happy about it.
That yeah, I could see why. It's very rural out there.
Well, it's not going to be when they're done.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be like their new headquarters essentially. Because Wyoming is so tax friendly for businesses, especially if you're providing jobs to however many countless hundreds or thousands of people. But yeah, so last episode we talked about Zuck's Hawaii survival fallout shelter, and this episode we're talking about him literally moving
to evade taxes.
Well, I mean, you know, the Zuck's gonna Zuck. All right.
I think I like Zuckerberg. I don't know too much about him.
I'm not sure that I do, but dude's got dead eyes. Like that.
That's true.
That's the thing that really
that's
kills
very
me.
True.
And there's so many memes of him being either like a lizard person or an android or something. And like
that's true.
There's just something about like the way he
does things.
Yeah, that's very unsettling to me. Yeah. The way that he moves himself as a human is like that doesn't quite seem right, but who knows? Maybe I've just been looking at memes too much.
So what are we talking about this episode?
Well, this is actually our first ever requested episode, our requested topic. Shout out Josh.
Kind Joshua.
Kind Josh. He wanted to learn some more about skinwalkers.
Okay, before we jump into that, I saw you on Wednesday this week.
Yeah.
And you were listening to a police scanner.
Uh-huh. Oh, you want me to talk about that experience? Okay.
Because I thought that was pretty weird too.
That was weird. So where we live in Wyoming, there are we have a nuke base. It's where like 1/3 of the country can launch the country's nuclear arsenal from. And because of that, we have a lot of
nuke bunkers scattered.
We have bunkers scattered all over the place. They're
hundreds of miles away or
real close.
Or closer.
And so they're generally manned by security forces for the Air Force. And so I was listening to the police scanner because I had reports of a manhunt going on in my neighborhood. I don't know what the resolution of that was, but I was like, I should listen to this. And there was someone from one of these silos, these nuclear bunkers that contain active payloads, calling into the dispatch for our city, county, fire, EMS, and law enforcement. And the first thing he said was kind of weird. At first, he identified who he was, and the dispatcher was like, okay, what's up? Because it's weird that he's like that military is broadcasting on those channels anyway. But he said, I'm about 10 miles off of undisclosed road, and there are 3 humans that should not be out here.
Like, that's fucking weird.
That's fucking weird. So,
but not to mention, so whenever I walked in, I hear him, like, listening to the police scanner. I'm like, what the fuck are you listening to? And then he proceeds to explain to me everything he just explained to you. And he's like, not to mention, I'm watching shit on Skinwalkers right now, so I'm already creeped the fuck out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I've got the TV going. I've got the scanner going on my cell phone. I've got baby A over there gooing and guying and making insect noises and stuff. And then Chandler walks in and he's like, what is happening? And I'm like, a lot. So then this dude gets back on the horn and he's like, correction, there are 4 short humans all wearing black hoodies and they appear to be tagging a wall. So the location that he was calling from,
is just mountains.
It's prairie, really.
Yeah.
There's fuck all out there. I don't know what wall would be getting tagged on unless it was part of
Unless
the
it was
silo.
their silo.
Even at that, you would
People
think
aren't dumb enough to do that.
Well,
yeah.
but I would wager that, you know, you get, well, I'm sure they've got cameras monitoring everything, right?
And how the fuck do you get in? You can't get close enough. I'm building.
Yeah, that's true. You're working on the base, yeah.
So there's no shot in hell you can get. So unless it's like an old brick wall.
I don't know, man. Or like my thought was, okay, depending on which side of undisclosed road he's talking about, that amount of distance out, like it could be like old houses out there that have fallen down and, you know, are decrepit. But
also don't specify humans, because
don't fucking specify humans, because like that should just be a given. And now I'm really concerned that we just got a bunch of fucking ETs running around on this bitch.
ETs.
Yeah, that's shorthand for extraterrestrials.
I know.
Not from home.
I know.
Yeah, so that was fun. Weirded me the fuck out.
We definitely have to do an episode on just aliens.
That's
gonna be a part 1, 2, 3, and 4 though. Like,
yeah, well, each, yeah, well, I don't want to get into it. Anyway, okay, so skinwalkers. Yeah, I'm gonna change it up. Normally, I ask you what you know before I jump into my notes.
Okay.
I'm gonna read this thing. It's a little long, but it's well worth it.
Okay.
I just want you to bear with me.
All right.
Okay. Imagine, if you will, that you lived in Utah in 1994, and you set out to find a quiet place to raise your kids, a teenage boy and a 10-year-old daughter. Shortly after beginning your search, your real estate agent takes you out to a sprawling 512-acre cattle ranch out in the middle of nowhere, the Uinta Basin of northern Utah, to be slightly more precise, for what seems like an incredible price. Things at first glance seem almost too good to be true. Your realtor tells you that the property hasn't been lived on in about 7 years. Apparently, the previous owners had passed away. Upon closer inspection of the boarded up or decrepit, like straight up decrepit, homes on the property, you see that there are deadbolts on the inside and outside.
Maybe of the
house. Maybe they did this to keep looters out while no one was living here. You rationalize. Something in your heart tells you this is exactly what you've been looking for. You pull your wife away from the realtor and excitedly tell her that you think you guys should put an offer in. She agrees, partially seeing your excitement and partially trying to contain her own. She grew up not too far from this ranch after all. About a month later, you drive past one of the cattle guards at the edge of your new property in the largest U-Haul you could get your hands on, this time with your kids in tow. You can see your daughter's face light up as you pull up to the main homestead. Your son is less than enthusiastic about his new, quiet life away from his friends and, well, civilization as a whole. You tell the kids to run in and pick their new rooms, and then give the ranch house another once-over from the outside. It's going to take a lot to get this place back up to snuff, you think to yourself, noticing that your internal honey-do list has basically tripled since the last time you were here. Now that your excitement has died down a bit, you start to really take inventory of everything the house needs. Not to even mention the property as a whole. Fortunately, you never once shied away from a challenge, especially simply because it was going to involve back-breaking labor, and a lot of it. You walk to the back of the U-Haul and deeply breathe in the clean air before sliding the door up. Flash forward a few months. You've done a ton of repairs around the property. You've obtained a couple hundred head of cattle, and to your surprise, your son has been thriving in this new life. You've even started to gain a bit of a reputation around the region for having some of the healthiest calves around. After a particularly tough day of tagging, you're unwinding in the house after dinner, and you decide to just look out over the field to the south of the house where you fielded a few heifers that are calving. Upon opening the front door, you see what looks like the lights from some sort of ATVs in the field. You think, neighbor kids must be out riding around. You don't hear any cows that sound like they're in distress, so you kind of let it go. A few seconds later, there's nothing but darkness. Not even stars are visible anymore. Once again, you rationalize. been a long day. I'm exhausted, and I need some sleep. I'll check out the herd tomorrow. You head to the south field before sunrise and don't see anything out of the ordinary until head count. So you count again. Your son counts too, and you both realize that you are one calf short. You drive around the pasture and get to where you approximate the thing in the sky or in the field would have been, and pushed up almost under the property fence is the missing calf, dead, with what appears to be a hole drilled through its left eye and no blood anywhere. Not on the ground, not in the calf. You also smell something chemically that you can't quite place. You call every vet in the area to come take a look, and not a single one is willing to come out. Over the next few months, the entire family starts to witness things that cannot be explained. Like the fact that the mesa on the north side of your property seems to just light up sometimes. Like the shiny flying box that everyone, even the ranch hands, have seen move incredibly fast, stop, and then take a completely different path before completely disappearing. Like a 40-foot long, what can only be described as a UFO, that looks like a pointy cigar zipped through the poplar trees. Like the crop circles that have popped up in 3 different locations. In addition to all of that, you had another cow, this time fully grown, be killed with similar wounds to the first. The glaring difference being that this one had its sphincter removed. Once again, though, not a drop of blood to be found. You've also started to notice strange indents in the ground, perfectly circular and about 3 feet deep, arranged in an elongated triangular formation. Maybe one of the ranch hands felled a few trees over here and cleaned up the holes, you think, desperately attempting to subconsciously not connect everything to the stories your neighbors have been telling you about this land being cursed. The final straw finally comes one night when you hear a scuffle in the corral near the house where you've moved the new moms and their babies to. Expecting coyotes to be attempting to get into the pen, you run out the door, trusty .357 in hand. In the pitch dark, you don't see anything as you approach the corral. Once you ride up on it, on the far side you see a pair of bright red eyes. Definitely not the eyes of a coyote. You see these eyes rise up from about 3 feet off the ground to over 6 feet, and you shine your flashlight at it. All you can make out is what looks like the haunches of a wolf, but way bigger than a wolf should stand. You can now tell that it snatched a calf through the fence, and the heifer is screaming? Through the cacophony, you steel your resolve, raise your pistol, level with the creature, and click. Good shot, center mass. Click, click. You fire 2 more shots just to be sure. You expect the creature to fall, or it to drop the calf at least. Instead, it snarls at you, drops back to all fours, and runs off. You try to follow it, but you're so severely outpaced it's not even funny. You shine your flashlight down to make sure you're still following the tracks, and there just aren't any. You must have lost the trail. So you head back down to the corral to restart your search. Then you realize that the thing that just took one of your prized calves had the biggest footprint you've ever seen. At least 3 times bigger than any wolf track. And it sunk down several inches into the dirt, which means that it's heavy. Plus the gait of this thing, it was several feet apart at least. You set back out to follow the trail, and you realize you didn't lose it. It's just gone. These last 15 months have been the most rewarding and weirdest of your entire life. For your sanity, and frankly the safety of your family, you sell off the cattle and list the property. $200,000.
Damn.
So that was a slight dramatization of what Terry Sherman's story when he and his wife Gwen purchased a ranch now known as Skinwalker Ranch. Not to be confused with Skywalker Ranch, which is the only Star Wars thing that George Lucas still owns. So now I want to ask you, what do you know about skinwalkers?
So hold on, that was dramatized?
Only slightly, because the actual story doesn't play out like a story.
Oh.
It's bits and pieces that I cobbled together, and I think it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
All I know is that skinwalkers are creatures that shapeshift into other animals, or really anything for that matter. I'm pretty sure it's Just animals. I hope it's just animals.
Okay, so that's all you know.
And that they originated from Indian tribes. And that tribes still believe in them in their everyday life. So that's pretty much all I know.
Okay. Then I'm just going to keep reading.
All right.
Tribal legends of the Skinwalker, or Yi Naldlushi. That's a very weirdly written word, but that is how you say it. Yi Naldlushi. And I fucked it up that time. Yi Naldlushi, which means by means of it, it goes on all fours in Navajo.
Okay.
They date back several hundred years.
So, Indian tribe.
Yeah, Navajo specifically.
Yeah.
Legends tell of a witch that can shapeshift, generally into a coyote or other animal associated with being sly and tricky. Interesting to note here that medicine men are specifically not witches, as witches are viewed with a strictly negative connotation. Belief is that these witches extend their lives by essentially becoming as much animal as human, and often adorn themselves with the body parts of the animals they can shift into. So, for example, a wolf shifter would wear a wolf pelt, raven feathers for ravens, etc.
So on and so forth.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Feel free to jump in anytime with any questions, comments, concerns, whatever. Now, one of the reasons that research was surprisingly difficult on this subject is because most indigenous tribal people hold the belief that speaking about negative entities is strictly taboo. Almost like speaking about it gives it some sort of power.
I found out that you're not supposed to say Skinwalker. Like, you're not supposed to speak of it. And instead of Skinwalker, it is...
Yi Naldlushi?
No, they call it something else. I don't remember what it was. But, like, it's just a simple word for shifter, essentially.
Changeling?
No, it's not changeling. I'm pretty sure it's shifter or something. Like, on tribes, that's what they call them. Because you're not supposed to speak of skinwalkers. And if you do, on a reservation here in Wyoming, in Riverton.
Shoshone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at a wrestling match, and there was a kid who was telling a story. And he was saying, like, oh, if you say this on the reservation, then you essentially get, like, grounded just for speaking of.
Yeah, no, like, from what I've been able to tell, indigenous peoples are very reserved against opening themselves up to any sort of negative entity like this. So, yeah, sorry, that makes sense. So from here on out, the episode is going to reflect back on what I can glean research from, which is Skinwalker Ranch.
Okay.
So that's what we've got. To quote HoltTribe.com, specifically about the native belief of skinwalkers in the Uinta Basin, which is where this ranch is. The Navajo
in Utah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Navajo and the Ute tribes met near the area of Skinwalker Ranch, and their relationship was instantly full of conflict and hate. The Navajo being a very violent and aggressive tribe at the time of this instance, enslaved many members of the Ute tribe. Whoa. The Utes, having hated the Navajo tribe for enslaving their people for so long, eventually placed a curse over the land, which is now Skinwalker Ranch. In fact, the Utes put a curse on the land that has supposedly caused skinwalkers to begin to inhabit the area. Since the Navajo tribe had long feared these creatures, the Utes used this curse as a means of retaliation for the many years the Navajos had kept them as slaves. The Utes also cursed the water. According to Ute belief, water was full of evil spirits and was a negative mass on Earth. We can find more credibility of this curse on the waterways when we look at the multiple records of mysterious lights and ball-shaped objects that are said to have crashed into the bodies of water found near Skinwalker Ranch. So, Skinwalker Ranch is exactly what I described in the beginning.
Is it a show? Like, Like, is it a show based off of a true story? Like, what is?
No, so Skinwalker Ranch is a place.
Okay.
There is a show. We're not gonna name the show because if people want to find it, they can just Google it. And the company that produces it has done some really shady things in the past, claiming things to be fact that aren't necessarily facts. So I do take issue with that.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. My dog is barking.
Yeah, he's going crazy. So now let's talk a bit about the history of ownership at Skinwalker Ranch. So from 1934 to 1994, Kenneth and Edith Myers owned it.
Okay.
They died in 1987.
Okay.
So 7 years before
this guy bought it.
The Shermans. And I also couldn't find out how they died or anything. Like I don't think it was under mysterious circumstances. I think they were just old because I mean they owned this property for 60 years.
So they were at least 80. They
were at least 60. We don't know how old they were when they bought it. You can guess that they were at least 80, but I don't know. In 1994, Terry and Gwen Sherman, who are the subjects of the story in the beginning of this episode, bought it. And they sold it in 1996. Now,
so they only owned it for 2 years?
Not even 2 years.
Okay.
So Utah.com would have you believe that they packed up and shipped out in a hurry, which very well may have been the case. But in 1996, Robert Bigelow, owner of Bigelow Aerospace, Budget Suites of America, and other several successful companies, bought the property seemingly as a base of operations for his newly founded National Institute for Discovery Science, or NIDS. Now, Bigelow is not only an eccentric, but also a billionaire, which is always a fun combo, you know? Right? Like,
yeah.
He's kind of like a mix between Elon Musk and Bruce Wayne. Cause
that's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
This purchase went through for $200,000, and it's unclear if the federal government bought it or Bigelow purchased it privately. And the reason I say he's a little bit of both of those guys is because like he was doing all sorts of crazy research, but also it was for the government, so it's very much in the shadows.
Yeah, no, 100%.
NIDS was created to funnel federal funding towards scientific investigation of the paranormal and fringe science, specifically the UFO phenomenon. And with the reports coming from the Sherman Ranch, it seemed like a great place to serve as the base of operations.
So when he purchased this, he knew what?
Yes, it was all over local newspapers and everything. Like it gained national coverage really quick because Terry Sherman was like, "This shit is fucked.
This shit's real.
This shit is crazy, and I don't want to live here anymore. So please, somebody buy it from me. Buy it from me. The Jello pudding pops." What is Whiskey doing, man? He's going crazy out there. I would like to point out at this point, though, that Terry Sherman stayed on as caretaker of the ranch, which I did find odd.
Come out.
Yeah. The guy that sold it to the billionaire.
He stayed
on as caretaker of the ranch.
With his family? Like they lived there?
I don't think that the family lived there. I think they moved off the ranch, still in the area, because his wife Gwen was from there, from the area. But he still had to go there every day. At the same time, it may have been contingent on the sale of the property. Like Robert Bigelow may have, yeah, like we don't know. As is the nature of government contracts, damn near everything that happened during the Bigelow years is classified to this day.
So why the fuck? He was in such a hurry to get out of there.
Yeah,
he wanted to stay there,
and then he agreed to stay on. I don't think it was a want. I think it was something that was kind of.
But honestly,
asked of him.
Though, like it might be a want because like imagine you witnessing that. And then that's all you know.
And then a billionaire comes in and is like, "Hey, we're gonna research all this shit, and we need somebody that knows how to do this."
Or it's from his side. It's get out of here. So he throws in the contract like, "No, I don't want to miss out on this." Like it could be that. You don't think so?
No, I don't think that's it at all. I think it was definitely. I shouldn't say definitely because I don't know. No, I think Bigelow was like, "Look, we need somebody to take care of this property." And like, I'm not going to do it. And my guys are all researchers that wear pocket protectors or they're military guys. They're not ranchers. and you've been doing this very successfully for the last year and a half.
15 months.
Yeah. I couldn't find if Terry Sherman had any prior history of ranching at all. Like I did try. Research is really, really hard to come by.
Does Bigelow still own it?
Specifically, at this point in my research led me to a bit of my own badger hole, where I attempted to get a hold of a journal of the Society for Psychical Research, specifically a 2015 version, volume 79, issue 921, page 201, because apparently they go very in-depth about some of the research that was being done on Skinwalker Ranch during the Bigelow era, and I can't find it.
Like anywhere?
Like, you type that exact thing in, and I don't even remember how I got like that exact volume and everything. It's something that I found. But you type all that in, and it takes you to a thing from like 1989, or it's locked behind, like, you need college credentials to be able to look at the actual published research papers, which I obviously don't have. If anyone out there does and would be willing to just let me use it for
Just
research
college
purposes.
credentials?
No, it's
Needs to be research.
yeah. Like you got to be able to prove that you're doing it for research purposes, which I am. So, shout out to me, I guess. So yeah, no, that was just weird. That's somewhere pointed me in that direction. I was like, oh great, I got to find this specific research paper, and then no access for me. The most notable researcher we know about from the Bigelow era, though, is retired U.S. Army Colonel John B. Alexander. Now, this dude was like the motherfucker when it came to alternative weaponry, let's just say. So,
like what?
Like sound cannons, infrasound devices.
Okay, so things to fuck you up that aren't like,
they're non-lethal.
It's not like a bullet.
Yeah. So do you remember the movie The Men That Stare at Goats? Did you ever watch that one? Did you read the book The Men Who Stare at Goats?
No.
The movie is incredible. You should watch it. It's got Ewan McGregor in it.
Okay.
And George Clooney.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a great movie. This dude was one of the guys running that project.
Okay. So that movie's based off of a true story?
Yeah.
Okay.
Supposedly. I don't know what's true anymore, man. But so John B. Alexander, he retired as a colonel.
Okay.
And like this, he's legit. He was special forces and the whole shebang. So then he went into the private sector and he started developing other weaponry. And then Robert Bigelow, I assume, threw a giant bag of money at him like Scrooge McDuck and said, "Come work for me."
Okay.
Sorry, my throat is very scratchy. In 2016, Brandon Fugel purchased the ranch via Adamantium Real Estate LLC from Bigelow, or possibly the U.S. government, because again, we don't know who actually owned it. Everything says Robert Bigelow, but I think he was just running things with government money, so therefore the government owned it, right? And he bought it for $500,000. He kept it secret that he was the owner until 2020, when I guess he had worked out the deals with with the specific channel. I'm going to name the channel, I'm not going to name the show. With the History Channel about shooting the show.
Okay.
So now we're going to talk a bit about that History Channel show. If you don't know what I'm talking about, type the title of this episode into Google. I guarantee you it's in the top 5 hits, if not the top hit. So if you're going to watch a single episode of this History Channel show pertaining to this subject, again, they're not a sponsor, and I don't love the way they've done some things. For example, very side caveat here. There's a podcast that I used to listen to very often, and the guys that put it on have like a history of videography. They're good at what they do, right? They're media producers of the highest caliber, and they were contacted by the History Channel to produce a documentary about mermaids. And they were like, okay, I mean, yeah, it's like just research. They're like, no. It's gonna be a drama about like mermaids attacking you guys. And they're like, the fuck? No. You're the History Channel.
Yeah.
Like, and you're no.
Let's change history.
Like, so that's one of the big issues that I have with them, is that they purport things to be fact that are not necessarily fact.
That's fair, I would say.
All right. So if you're gonna check out one episode of this thing to really like suck you in, because the show itself is good. I think that the research that they're doing on the show
Just not the mermaid.
is good. No, I think the channel sucks.
Okay.
Check out season 3, episode 4. They're investigating an area on Skinwalker Ranch called the Triangle, which is par for the course. They do a lot of different investigations there. They bring out astronomers from the Salt Lake Astronomical Society with these like tens of thousands of dollar telescopes, right? First off, there's issues with all the electronics, which is normal. Like the telemetry data is being actively wiped from these auto-adjusting telescopes as soon as it pertains to the area above the triangle.
Okay.
So they type in a constellation, a star system. They're like, look at Ursa Major, whatever, and it, because that should be the star right there.
Yeah.
And it goes, no, there's nothing in this spot that we need. So as the Earth is rotating, they're able to aim on stuff that they weren't before throughout the night, like throughout this investigation, because it's not in this area anymore, which blows my fucking mind. Then one of the guys responsible for security on the ranch shines a military grade laser pointer up through this anomalous spot in the center of the triangle, which is approximately 2,000 feet or 609.6 meters if you're watching anywhere that doesn't use, the imperial system like we do, in the sky. And the laser beam not only shortens at parts, indicating that it's hitting something that you can't see, but it bends, which lasers don't do, and then it splits in two.
Okay, how?
That's the fucking question. Because that shit should be impossible. The astronomers that are out there to help them with their investigation are like fucking shook. They're like, we've never seen this. I don't really even want to be out here anymore. You can tell that they're physically uncomfortable. Yeah, laser beams bending and refracting off of nothing in the sky.
So like, I'm just picturing like a laser level.
Well, this is why I asked you to watch this episode, because it's not a level. It's fucking military grade laser.
Yeah,
it's a big green laser beam that's like, he's got a handheld thing and he up into the sky, and the tip of the laser, he's holding it stationary and it dips down, it fucking bends, and it splits in two at the end.
Genuinely, like, what explanation is there?
There's not. The running theory that they have, which is not what I got into, because I watched every episode of this shit, by the way.
Okay.
Every episode that's available, I have seen, because I think they're doing legitimately incredible research, and I think the fact that they're using the History Channel to do it is just a way to procure extra funding.
Yeah.
They think that there seems to be some sort of wormhole, an Einstein-Rosen bridge, that is intersecting at this particular spot in space-time on this ranch.
At that exact same time. Like, it opens in that rotation.
They don't.
Have they done that several times?
Man,
and is it different?
Yes, they've put on fucking what look like laser Floyd shows.
And it's only done it the once.
It's only done that the once, but there are things that they've been doing, like they've realized that shooting rockets seems to stimulate UAP activity.
Yeah.
So they're shooting rockets while they've got lasers, while they're broadcasting this mysterious 1.6 gigahertz frequency that they are picking up randomly when people get headaches on the ranch that are like debilitating and people have to leave. And then they leave and they're like, I'm fine now. One of the current caretaker is not the right word, but he was doing what Terry Sherman was doing. He is currently doing what Terry Sherman was doing for Robert Bigelow. He had like swelling in his brain where the fatty tissue had separated from his skull, and the doctors could not explain it. The head researcher, whose name is Travis something, I really should have written it down, but he's an astrophysicist by trade. He's worked for the NSA, the DoD. He's done shit pertaining to like space that he's not even allowed to talk about. He was the head of, he was the main science guy for ATIP for a little while. You know what ATIP is?
Yeah.
I didn't write any of this down. It's just from the top of my dome. And like he got that because of the show. They were like, the research that you're doing, something is happening. You guys are doing experiments that is making these things appear, because they've gotten so many different UAPs they'll come out of the sky, stop, fucking take off a different direction, or they'll just straight up disappear, or they'll have the cows start freaking out and they're like, everybody watch the sky, and they'll just see something shimmer through the fucking sky that's moving at like 28,000 miles an hour.
So the laser beam like bending and splitting makes me think of like, you know, episode 2 of The Hobbit, like movie 2 of The Hobbit. When they're
the one before the Desolation of Smaug?
Yeah, the one with the key and they're trying to get into the mountain.
The Mines of Moria?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen the Hobbit movies in a long time.
Well, so they're trying to use a key, but they can't find the keyhole.
Oh.
And it reads off in Elvish that like something.
Right,
and
something.
And it's only like once a year that this exact moment when the moon shines on it a certain way, like
yeah, I get what you're
that the keyhole appears. So like I wonder if that's along the same lines, that they just got lucky in that time.
I mean, you could have also quoted Temple of Doom when he's got the staff through the wind. Yeah, whatever. Same type of thing. And I don't think that's it. I think that it's something that,
well, I'm not saying for like the paranormal side, just the fact like what could have bent it and split it was a portal, but that portal only opens.
So what I think is that it's they call it the blob.
Okay.
So they've done other experiments where like they'll fly a helicopter up and they'll drop like GPS receivers that are protected out of the helicopter.
Okay.
And the GPS data that they get shows the thing going underground and going like 6 miles off course, like just fucked up weird readings when they drop it through this anomalous zone above the triangle on Skinwalker Ranch. It's crazy. The show is worth the watch. I'm going to continue with my notes. If the show is to be believed, strange electrical phenomena are weirdly common out there. Even in that the show... Oh, talking about a different show now. Even in that the show run by the guy who likes sparkly jeans that used to be way too big and now they're way too tight. He wears the douchiest sunglasses imaginable. He owns that haunted museum in Vegas. He makes his fellow team members like do really uncomfortable shit. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's got a show where he like investigates paranormal stuff. His name rhymes with tack bacon.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, they did an episode where they were at the ranch and they literally couldn't keep like charges on their batteries for their cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He's like a dildo, but at the same time,
I mean, that kind of shit happens when you're around anything paranormal or anything that is out of this world. Like energy is different
like it's
everywhere.
Drawing energy from whatever it can.
Energy is different everywhere. So same thing with like ghosts and shit. They pull energy to be able to do shit from this plane because they're not here.
Very potentially could be the case. So, are all of the sightings actually manifestations of electromagnetic fields causing literal hallucinations? Because that would explain partially why batteries die. No, because there's so much video evidence that's being captured. Like,
All the time.
there's 4 seasons of the show on History Channel, and like the first couple seasons, I was like, damn, all right, it's weird. They're actually like that just shut off.
Yes, it did.
Um,
Shouldn't have done that.
I'm like, that's weird. They're actually doing stuff. This is a History Channel show, and they're actually like investigating and seemingly figuring stuff out. But I don't know that they'll ever be able to actually figure stuff out.
Just for those of you that are listening, we have lights sitting behind us, and they just turned off.
It's a spoopy skeleton. Maybe. Well, I mean, who knows? All right.
I live here, so I try not to think about that kind of shit.
Facts. Okay, out of the badger hole. What are your thoughts? I know that like you don't know as much about it as I do, but I didn't want another 3-hour long episode, so I really condensed everything down. But like I wanted it to have good substance.
And this is a good sized podcast considering it's late.
Yeah.
So hopping out the badger hole, I don't know. I think that my brain works differently than everyone else's, so it's hard for me to like rationalize everything, if that makes sense. Like I try to think.
You'd be more inclined to believe in the paranormal than most people, you would say?
100%.
Okay.
But like at the same time, like I don't know, this triangle that they're going in, if they
it's
like,
literally just a spot where like
it's somewhat kind of a triangle.
Yeah, so there's a road.
So a question.
And then roads around.
Did they ever talk about like the axis of the world? Does that interlink there or anything like that?
There's so much shit going on out there that they're like they're trying everything.
So they have looked to see if that is
the like, axis of the world. You're talking about like ley lines or something?
Yeah.
I don't know, because they're doing it from a scientific perspective rather than a bullshit thing that was created in the late 1700s to help draw people into like quasi spiritualism.
Things that I would really love to know is why the fuck that original owner stayed to be a hand.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's super fucking weird.
It's weird to me.
A, B, I would like to know. Give me some more. Like I feel like we got more from the original owner's story that I'm surprised he wasn't forced to take down or anything.
Well, so the only reason that I was able to piece that together is because he had gone to the papers.
Okay.
So what he told the papers was not in any sort of chronological order or like everything. I compiled that. Like, I'm very proud of that writing, actually.
No, yeah, that's good. I don't know. We get more information out of that than we have from anyone else because they aren't putting it out there.
No, so.
But like, I don't know if it was me, if I had fucking $500,000 to go and buy property like that.
Well, but that's the thing. So they've got high-speed cameras up. They've got motion, like state-of-the-art tracking happening now. Like the ranch today, according to the show, is decked the fuck out with technology that they didn't even have in the Bigelow era. Not to mention the fact that everything that happened when Robert Bigelow owned it is confidential.
Correct. I want to know what the fuck happened when he owned it.
So, the John Alexander, the colonel that I was talking about, he actually has come out on the show, and he's like, these are some of the things that like we investigated, because apparently some of the stuff is there's no longer an NDA on it.
So he can speak about some of it.
About some of it.
He just has to be careful.
One of the head security guys that worked during the Bigelow era, his first night out on patrol, because he came on the show, and he was like, my first night out on patrol, me and two other guys, they had been here a little bit longer than me. We headed out, and we just went for a walk, and I shined my flashlight up on the mesa, and I saw what looked like eyes. I told them I'm running up there, and once he got there, there was nothing except big canine footprints. And even in the picture, like he's showing the guy's pictures on his phone, he's like, yeah, I fucking took this. There's a German Shepherd standing like right next to this print, and it's easily
triple the size,
quadruple the size. And he's like, and like the steps were like 4 feet apart. And
was it 4 steps?
That's not how dogs walk. No, that's the thing. Like you don't.
Well, because I've always thought that skinwalkers fucking just get on their back legs and ran. Like
maybe they do. Maybe they.
No one shares that.
Maybe they. Well, that's the thing. Is it's native lore, and most of what is being seen now, if you believe the History Channel show, is not only is it real, but it's more closely directed to UAPs, UFOs,
extraterrestrial.
We think, maybe not.
Just
we
just don't. Like we don't know.
Like we don't fucking know.
Well, and honestly, I've always thought that whenever it came to skinwalkers, just because tribes, like on reservations and everything like that, it's like you've gone into like a gas station on a res or something like that. Like whenever you walk into these places, it's not like a normal gas station. It's very spiritual. They are doing everything in their power to
there's sage burning,
make it as spiritual as possible. So like
I definitely think that there's like the anglicized part of America is disconnected quite a bit from like especially the Native American like spiritual beliefs, obviously.
Yeah.
But 100%. Even like just the connection to the land.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and that land has been through everything without as much change as the land right next to it.
Right.
Which that is what can store that energy.
Some of that energy. Okay, so I'm gonna hop out of the badger hole now.
Okay.
I wrote down my hop out of the badger hole. I think a lot of boogeyman type myths were developed as a way to keep kids safe. Imagine being a human a few thousand years ago. How would you keep your youngins from wandering too far into the darkness when there are things around that could literally kill them?
Yeah.
You concoct a story about something so terrifying that they wouldn't even dream of testing it. Then that becomes oral tradition, and voila, we have these myths that develop worldwide. I think a lot of it starts that way, but then maybe becomes tulpa'd and is being given energy and then becomes an actual thing. Or these things were already real and they were like, this is real shit, don't fuck with it, it will wreck your entire existence.
Yeah.
That being said, there are a lot of firsthand accounts about weird shit happening in the area we're talking about. I feel like the current investigation out at Skinwalker Ranch is making incredible strides toward coming to some sort of conclusion, but maybe isn't being taken so seriously for any litany of reasons, because it's on TV, because whatever. But the Brandon Frugal guy that owns it, he's throwing buckets of fucking money at this place, which is great. And I love that it's on TV. There are places out there that are flaming the show and they're like, this is all bogus BS. I really don't think it is, because you've got actual retired Army colonels, you've got actual astronomers, you've got actual aeronautical engineers, astrophysicists, you've got people that have reputations that they can't just throw away all willy-nilly because they want to go hunt some fucking UFOs. These are people that have a lot to say and to contribute to this conversation, and I think that they need to be taken more seriously. Because
and keep in mind that first owner clearly like had encounters.
Oh yeah, he was,
and that was before show was even in thoughts or anything. Of course, like, yeah. Like that's just one experience alone. Like that shit is enough for you to move.
Like
to sell a house.
All of the details
on 500 acres. Who the fuck does that?
Yeah, I don't know. If I had 500 acres, you couldn't get me off it.
Fuck if it's not. Well,
but like he did actually fire 3 shots at the thing.
Yeah.
With a 357, and it
no blood, and it just ran off.
It just ran off, and then the tracks just stopped. Like almost like it just flew off or was beamed into
a million feet.
Something happened. It phased dimensions like Bigfoot might. Like we don't know. Honestly, what's happening at Skinwalker Ranch? Again, if the show is to be believed, but that's the best evidence that we're able to get our hands on right now. It reminds me a bit of the Nazca mummies story that's unfolding like right now. Do you know anything about that? Good, that's going to be a whole ass episode. Cause
wait, is that the mini mummy?
The mini mummies, the tridactyl mummies, they have 3 fingers.
Like the people that are like this big?
No, this is like a new thing. They just found them in Peru, like 3 years ago, but it's just now coming out.
Are they humans?
No.
Aliens?
That's the running theory.
Well, I saw something a few days ago off of something. It appeared it might be the same thing. Just are they small?
Some of them are, yeah.
Yeah, I saw something about small mummies found somewhere.
Yeah, Nazca, Peru.
Maybe it's the same thing. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm tripping.
Maybe they apparently they keep finding more and more all the fucking time. It started with like 3, and they were like, "What are these? Like these?
What the fuck is this?
What is this?" And they've been through all sorts of testing and retesting, and like they've got manganese implants, which wasn't even something that like we used as a globe until the late 1800s.
Yeah,
like it's fucking weird. And it's just not covered in your mainstream media.
Yeah, because 100%.
Because why? When there's
why would you want to release that kind of shit?
Why would you want anyone to think, oh man, there's more than just me versus you?
Yeah. Because it would just make the world such a worse place,
man. That's a badger hole I don't really want to get into because it's late already. But awesome. Yeah, so that's Skinwalkers.
No, yeah, I believe that shit, but honestly, you can pitch me almost anything and I'll believe it. Which is funny enough, I didn't really believe in Bigfoot. That's saying something.
Yeah, that is saying something. What if Bigfoot just is a skinwalker and he's able to just turn
There's more evidence in that fucking in everything you just read than there ever has been for Bigfoot. But honestly, but we're clueless, remember?
We are clueless. Yeah, we don't know shit about shit. Q 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks, whatever. I don't know what the release schedule is going to be. Yeah, cue that 2.5 hour long thing we did about the war on drugs. Clueless. Yeah. Awesome. All right, so that's it. If you watched and you liked what you see or hear, let us know in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, the messaging on Spotify is stupid, so just send us an email to badgerholepodcast@gmail.com. I've been Drew.
I'm Chandler.
And that's it.
Sweet.